So as you know, if you woke up today with breath in your lungs, if you are up and alive right now, it is no mistake. God has a purpose and a calling and a will on your life. He has promises on your life that maybe He's given you and that He's calling you to walk in. You're watching this video by no mistake. You woke up today by no mistake. You're in the timeline of 2025 and today is April 10th by no mistake. You are here for a reason. God has a plan and a purpose and a role in your life for the kingdom of heaven and for His glory. So today we're going to be talking about the story of Moses and the Israelites and how God made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the fathers, that their descendants would walk into this land called the Promised Land. And you see, the Promised Land was full of blessings, full of fruit, livestock, beautiful landscape, everything that anybody could ever dream of. And God made a covenant, a promise with the fathers that their descendants would see this. But we see that the Israelites were lacking in faith. They were disobedient. They didn't trust God. They were scared. They were fearful for what they saw. They were walking by sight and not by faith. And because of this, it took them 40 years wandering around. Some of them didn't even walk into the Promised Land. Some of them died before they could ever see the Promised Land because of their disobedience. So today we're going to be talking about, are we going to be the generation that finally takes that step and walks into the Promised Land that God has in your life? Or are you going to miss out on the goal that God has for your life? Are you going to miss out on the will that the Father wants to give you, the life that the Father wants to give you? Are we going to be acting in disobedience, or are we going to be acting in obedience? So as we know, the story of Moses and the Egyptians, that Moses just freed the Israelites from the hands of Pharaoh and from slavery in Egypt. And you see, so it is about the time now where God tells the Israelites to go ahead and walk into the Promised Land. He says, go there and you will overcome anybody that comes in your way, and you'll run them out of the territory, and you'll walk into the land of Canaan and you will possess it. It will be yours that have made the promise of the fathers and all this. So God is telling the Israelites, it's time. He's telling Moses, it's time. Go into the land of Canaan, go into the Promised Land, and you will walk into it and it'll be yours. So you see, at that time, the land of Canaan was ruled by 7 different nations. And each of these 7 nations were greater in number, greater in resources. They even had giants. They were bigger than the Israelites. So the Israelites saw this and then began to be filled with fear, filled with doubt, didn't trust God. And you see, how many times is this us in our walk with Christ? God has delivered us time after time after time again. God has gotten us through time after time after time again. And the moment we still sometimes see a giant, we still back down. How many times in our life have we been filled with fear and didn't trust in God? And then you look back in your time, you look back in your past now, and you trusted God and you're still here, you're still walking, and everything went as according to Father's will. Either you went through tribulation and you learned from it, or you went and walked through it and it was nothing, it was a blessing. So you see, they were scared of the giants. There was giants in the way for them walking into their Promised Land, of them walking into the Father's will, of them walking into the blessings that God wanted to give them. And even though God Himself spoke to them and told them through Moses that they will go and take it, they were walking by sight and not by faith. When the Bible tells us to walk by faith, not by sight. The Bible tells us that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. So if we stay near God, if we stay faithful, we trust in His word over anything, we will prosper. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. We prosper. So you see, what Satan does is he tells you these lies. He tries to fill you with fear, maybe get you distracted with sin. He does all these things. You know, even some of the Israelites were saying, so God just delivered us out of Egypt just to put us into this. We're going to go into the hands of these giants and we're just going to die or be slaves to them. So you see, Satan was starting to lie to them. And they began to believe that these lies were true. For 40 years, they walked around in the wilderness, walked around in circles. Some of them were even dying. 40 years it took for them to walk into the Promised Land. And the best part of this is that the Promised Land was theirs this whole entire time. God remained faithful. He remained, he continued to fulfill that promise. That land was theirs. But the disobedience of the Israelites caused the delay. The disobedience of the Israelites caused some of them to die and never even see that promise. So it took 40 years until a generation stood up and said, I'm going to walk by faith, not by sight, and I'm going to walk into the promised land of God. I'm going to listen to God. I'm going to trust God. And they prospered, and they walked into that land, and it was the best thing that they've ever received. Filled with fruit, filled with livestock. Everything was rich in landscape. Everything they could ever wanted. You see, so when you finally put down your flesh, when you finally put down your pride, and you become humble under God, and you begin to trust God, He gives you everything you need. Matthew 6, verse 33. Seek the kingdom only, and everything else will be added on to you. And I know I'm speaking to somebody right now. I don't care how big these giants look. I don't care how much you're filled with fear. Maybe you don't want to go out in public and speak because you have social anxiety. Maybe you're stuck in these sin cycles. You're stuck in these traps that you feel that you're trapped in. But the truth is that the price is already paid. You have gained freedom through the grace of Christ. Jesus has done all the work. So trust in God, stay obedient every single day, and walk into that promised land. And I guarantee you, you will prosper. I guarantee you that the land is yours. And one of the best parts about the story is that God is telling them to walk through these different nations. And as He's walking into these nations, He's going, don't go into that nation. I promised that to that person. They go into another nation. You're not taking this land, for this land is given to someone else. So you see, when God has a promise on your life, when He has a plan in your life, that is yours and yours only. And God stays faithful. God is a God of covenant. He does not back down from His promises. He stays faithful to His promises. So whatever God has given you, it is for nobody else but you. So walk by faith and not by sight.